My Ramblings, Engineers and Electricians. When I was a civil servant, I was working as an electrical engineer. I graduated with a degree, and there was a lot of pressures and forces taking place. I think it was at the time where the military decided that, well, they're done doing all the re-engineering and cutting of the fighting forces, and now it was time to, take a look at the facilities department. That's understandable. Um, it was just our turn, but so there was a lot of people who, I don't know, try to make the electricians and the engineers sort of compete with each other. And it just seems kind of ridiculous. And somebody even went so far as to post online um, about why he would take an electrician over an engineer. Now, the guy didn't graduate from high school, but he owned a factory. So the guy was obviously successful. And, he had his opinions. What I could never understand is why anybody would make the comparison in the first place. You don't really pay attention to the stuff. You're busy doing your jobs and stuff. But no, I came to this conclusion. I think you guys are comparing apples and oranges, obviously, in the first place. But, usually electricians, when you talk about an electrician, they've gone through their apprenticeship, they've put years on the job, and they've become skilled at a working level of doing the job that they do. What this guy was actually comparing was recent college graduates to electricians. Perhaps he should have been comparing guys that had worked in their career as an engineer and had progressed to the point where they could qualify and sit for the professional engineer's exam. So my comment was, if you're going to make the comparison, you shouldn't be comparing recent college graduates to engineers. You should be comparing recent college graduates to apprentices. For a lot of engineers, some people are gifted and they do quite well. Most people go through a series of progressively more difficult projects until they attain their working level and have gained enough experience to qualify for it. The engineer's exam, if indeed the type of engineering you're in makes that exam relevant. So I'm going to talk about another instance. Everybody thinks anybody could walk up to an electromechanical relay, make an adjustment, and what have you. So everybody says, kind of what's the big deal? But in reality, if you want to do that, you really need a relay technician to break out his test set the meter up inside, do the injection currents, and then monitor and test to see if the setting that you made didn't go way too far or didn't go far enough, and actually puts where that device is intended to cause an action. It takes place at the point that you want it to. And these guys that do this, sometimes they're specialized, sometimes they have a lot of other duties. What an engineer might do, for instance, if you have an issue with your switching station or you're just doing a study, is you'll take the current transformers, the CTs, you'll take the electromechanical relays, and each of these things has characteristics about them and the way that they operate. Mechanical relays have time turn curves and for instantaneous and overcurrent. How you connect the CTs is important, and how they'll operate, and how everything is interconnected, and how they're connected to the circuit breaker all play a large part in the protective scheme that ends up being utilized. And I could go on, but there's some analysis involved. There's, besides having the background knowledge to understand the equipment and systems, but if you're going to select settings and what have you, you need to be cognizant of the factors. And you usually wouldn't just go up and change one set, move the dial with your finger. You'd go through and make sure that you still have your selectivity and that your equipment is the fault current to it is going to be interrupted before damage occurs, or an acceptable level of damage occurs, which for higher currents it's inevitable anyway. So that's my rambling. Engineers and electricians ain't quite the same when you try to compare them. I can't do their job. Some of them, in large part, could do the work I did, but mainstream electrician, mainstream engineer. Just two different jobs. Okay, that's my rambling. If you were amused, troubled, enlightened, or just liked the video, hit the like. Thank you.